Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy Wednesday, middle of the week, and things looked a little bit better for Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners today, which is nice to see. It's been quite a while since we've had a nice day for both, actually. So, Bitcoin was up today, miners were up today, which is good. We have Cleanspark reporting their numbers for February along with Core. So we'll look at those numbers then, and we'll get into your guys' Q&A. It should be a pretty easy day today. But as always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice. For anything only, do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. And let's get right into it here. Bitcoin today was up about 4%. It was up 3.8 something on the day. So that was kind of nice to see after we had this wild ride over the weekend and a big drawdown on Monday, filling the CME futures gap. But we've been steadily going back upwards, which is nice. Bitcoin's at 91,221 right now. We closed today at 90,603. We were up 3.84%. So that was good. We're up a little bit on the new day for Thursday as well. We got the crypto summit happening on Friday with President Trump and a bunch of guys from the crypto space there as well. We'll see what that all entails, what the details are going to be on that. We'll cover it on Friday as usual, but we'll see what happens there. Has Bitcoin bottomed out here? Possibly. There's still a slim chance that we might go down to like the 77,800 mark down here, which would then fully fill in that CME futures gap that we had back since November. It got partially filled here last week on Friday, I think it was, or when was it? Yeah, Friday. So we got pretty close to that. We're still off by about $200 or so roughly on it. I'm saying there's still a slim possibility that that might get filled before we do go up, but right now it's looking a little bit better for Bitcoin as it is. Bitcoin has been having higher lows as well, so that's doing pretty good. We're above the 200 simple day moving average as well, so that's pretty good there. And we'll just see if we can get a continuation of this rally going up, right? People are still saying that we could get to 180,000, 200,000, whatever it might be this year. It'll be roughly a 2x from where we are right now. I would be happy with that. We'll see where the miners go from there. Okay, MicroStrategy had a great day today. It was up 12.14% on the day. It's bouncing back up as well. This thing had bounced basically off this 200 simple day moving average as well. Bitfarms was up a little bit here, 3.51%. BitDeer was up 2.64%. Cypher had a great day today. It was up 10.93%. There's some new, there's some news about SoftBank selling their shares or something like that on them. And then the CEO, gosh, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Chimed in that this is perfectly natural or something like that, that the way this stuff works with the way that it was structured, I think. So I don't have enough details on it I probably shouldn't have even commented about it, but I don't have enough details to really make sense of it yet. Cleanspark was up today, 10.18%, had a really good day as well. Maybe this thing has bottomed out at 722. We'll see. CORZ was up just a little bit here today, 0.05%. Hive was up 3.16%. Hut 8 was up 6.42%. IREN up 6.9%. Mara 8.23%. Riot 5.59%. Wolf 6.61%. Small miners were up for the most part. DMG was up nicely, 10.53%. Mawson was down 8.3% for some reason. I'm not sure what happened there. I didn't really check as far as news-wise what's going on there. The ETFs were up nicely today as well, at least 5-6% on the day. So overall, a good day. We'll take as many of these days as we can get going forward here. So that's all I have for you guys there. Bitcoin so far in the month of March is up 6.84%. It's definitely starting out better than what February did. So we'll see if this can continue on throughout the rest of the month. And then let's get into Cleanspark here. So Cleanspark provided their February update for production here. It's a pretty good update. This is a quote from Zach Bradford here. February demonstrated the value of our pure play Bitcoin mining strategy. We focus exclusively on Bitcoin and continuously improve on our leading operational excellence as we continue to add to our strategy. Treasury. Despite February being a shorter month, we made strides across all our facilities and continue to add additional power to our contracted portfolio. The last remaining machines have been removed from CoinMint in New York, making our portfolio 100% owned and operated. So that's good there. And then with nearly 1 gigawatt of power under contract, we have sufficient capacity immediately available for energization to support the remaining path to 50 exahash. They're saying that they're going to get there by the end of June here, it looks like. Down below it says, as we look ahead, we are on schedule to reach 50 exahash by June 30th, 2025, and continue to invest in the power pipeline required to support 60 exahash and beyond. Really like hearing that they're growing even further here this year. So they're saying 60 exahash and beyond. So maybe by the end of the year, maybe they'll get to close to maybe 70 exahash, 75, we don't know exactly, but that's definitely great to hear that they are still expanding their Bitcoin mining operations this year as well. All right, so here's the unaudited Bitcoin mining production, 624. Really good numbers considering that this month was a shorter month. Total Bitcoin holdings, 11,177. Month-end operating hash rate, 40.7. I think they increased by like 600 petahash or something like that from the prior month. And additional updates here on Georgia. Several expansions to existing facilities and regions are in progress. These projects will add additional immersion and deployments to the state and deliver the same best in portfolio performance to our most mature market. These expansion projects will contribute to achieving our mid-year guidance, so that's good. Cheyenne, Wyoming here, our power contracts have been expanded by, should have been probably extended, I think, expanded by 35 megawatts to a total of 110 megawatts with further expansion expected in 2025. Hash rate performance at our immersion deployments in Cheyenne lead the entire portfolio as the next two phases of the regional project continue through construction and commissioning, which we expect to bring online in the coming weeks. Nice. And then Jackson, Tennessee, construction on 48 megawatt of air-cooled infrastructure continues in order to power approximately 3.1 exahash as part of the path to 50 exahash. Jackson will be the largest facility thus far in Tennessee and serve as a critical participant in TVA's demand response program. We expect to see hash rate come online early next quarter. So we're going to see continued growth here from Cleanspark, which I love seeing. They have been, you guys know this, they've been probably one of the best as far as growth has been concerned. In the last 3 years, I would say, just continuation to, I mean, they're executing exceptionally well here. And I love seeing that, and that's why I'm invested in them quite a bit. Okay, so there's that numbers. If we look at my numbers here, currently they have about 280 million shares outstanding. Market cap as of today is 2.4 billion for them. Performance over the last 12 weeks has not been great, right? We talked about that in the past. For the other miners as well, current hash rate, 40.7. Is that right? Did they say 40.7 or did I miss that? Slow down. 40.7, okay, so that is right. For some reason I was thinking 40.6 exahash. So they definitely have quite a bit of growth left here with them if they're going to 60 exahash and beyond. That's great. Bitcoin HODL, 11,177. That's valued at 1 billion again. I think they're only like 200 some odd Bitcoin away from overpassing or passing Tesla in the number position for companies that hodl Bitcoin, or anybody that hodls Bitcoin actually. So that would get them above Tesla there. Their hodl market cap is 41.96%. So about each share has about $3.59 of hodl value there. Bitcoin production here, we can see was pretty good here considering the month was shorter. All right, 624 Bitcoin. They were only off by 2 Bitcoin from January, which had more days on it. But the weather was probably better. They didn't have to curtail as much as a result of that. So that's great to see. Monthly revenue here down to 59.46 million. That's a result of a shorter month, and also Bitcoin price coming down here in February. And then Bitcoin HODL here, just a continuation of going up here, right? 11,177. So that's great. Hash rate growth 40.7. That's about, like I said, 600 petahash of growth there. They only sold about 3 Bitcoin roughly in the month here. And then their efficiency per BTC is actually right now, out of the miners that have reported that I'm seeing, is the best. 15.3 is currently the best that I've seen here. We're still waiting on Hive to report, IREN to report as well, I believe. So we'll see what those guys come in at. But this is actually the best one yet out of the pack here. Going down here, institutions have also been buying in here to these guys. 414 institutions now as of today. That's a nice increase from what we had in at the end of January, basically, the beginning of February, 392. But shares also increased nicely here to 158 million. It is now 57% owned by institutions. We now have 4 strong buy ratings, 4 buy ratings, 1 hold rating, 0 hold or 0 underperforms, 0 sells. Price targets stayed the same for them for $30 for the high. Average went down a little bit to 22.75. And the low stayed the same at $17 here. For the month here, I had them operating roughly, approximately, with the additional of the miners here that were added, the 600 petahash, roughly 2,550 of these 234 terahash miners. Everything else was operating for approximately 26.7 days out of the month here, it looks like. That got us to the figure of 59,459,000, and that corresponds with this figure here, which is based on Bitcoin average price, network hash rate average as well. And that's usually I usually get pretty close to these guys here as far as what they generate in revenue based on that. So that's where we are with it right now. If we use those figures for the next 12 months, multiply it times 12, we get them to about 713 million in revenue. But obviously, Bitcoin price goes up higher, they could be even more. But right now, we're just looking at about 25.41 for the stock to 38.11. They're at 8.55. Yeah, they're way undervalued based on these numbers. Even if we use numbers for the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in, they're still at $19.13 to 28.70. Still way undervalued from where they really should be. They've definitely been beaten down here in the last, I would say, year compared to some of the other miners as well. Okay, so, I mean, what can I say about Cleanspark? They're doing everything right, in my book at least right now. So they just got to continue to execute, continue to grow, continue to build out, and take market share from the other miners. So great job by them. Next is going to be on Core here. Core is pretty short and sweet, actually. They reported also their February update here. Self Bitcoin mined was 215, hosting was 16, self mining energized hash rate was 18.4, down a little bit from where they were in January of 18.5. Not a huge decrease, but it's definitely a little bit of a decrease there. But we've seen a continuation of decreases in hash rate here over the last 12 months, I would say, on it. And that is basically it. Not much updates there. Excuse me. They did provide us with an update last week that they got another 1 billion something contract with CoreWeave there. So that's great. They have definitely a lot of potential there going forward with CoreWeave as it is. And that should be taken into account going forward here. But the only thing that happened also that we got news of was the timeline for when the revenue is going to be coming in from CoreWeave has been expanded out towards like the end of the year more so, based on things that are not, supplies, right? Some transformers, things like that are being delayed. And so it's basically just delay to build out these things before they can get energized and have CoreWeave operating in those facilities. But yeah, that's all we got here for CoreWeave. Let's take a look at the numbers here that we do have here. So Core has about 306 million shares outstanding, market cap about 2.9 billion. They had a pretty good week last week, but prior to that, it wasn't great. HODL, BTC HODL is also estimated right now at 863. They don't provide a lot of data on the HODL there. Sometimes they provide that they sold some. When they don't, I pretty much added into the HODL, thinking that they HODLed everything there. So I'm guessing 863, valued about 77.8 billion, or 77.8 million, sorry. Current hash rate is about 18.4, like they said. They were at 20.5 at one point. But their HODL right now is valued about 25 cents of every share, so very low, 2.65% of their market cap. You can see the BTC production here has been coming down this whole year, and that's the result of not upgrading their fleet, right? They're using older machines, plus they're also reducing the number of miners there, so hash rate's been coming down. Their revenue here for the month came in at 20.49, which is seen a continuation of a decline here that we've seen over the last 2 months, it looks like. And then hash rate, you can see here, they peaked at 21.1 exahash in July of last year. And ever since then, they've been coming down as they move machines from one site to another site to make room for the HPCI business for CoreWeave and retrofit those facilities. And I think some of those machines might be also kind of wearing out possibly for them. And maybe they're just not preparing them right now on that. Here you can see BTC HODL estimated, right, where they are, more or less. If you guys have better numbers on that, let me know, but that's kind of the way I figured things out. BTC per exahash efficiency, pretty low here, 11.68. I think that might be the worst efficiency for the month here, February, at least right now. And then Bitcoin sold value, how much they sold here, going down here to institutions. Nice increase as well in institutions to 412. 264 million shares now owned. 90% of the stock is owned by institutions. That's just crazy. So a lot of smart money believes that the stock is going to go up much higher going forward. Right, and then we still have 11 strong buy ratings, 4 buy ratings, 0 hold ratings now, and then 0 underperforms, 0 sells. Price target went down a little bit here to $24. The average went down to $19.57, and the lowest stayed the same at $17 on it. Going down for the month of February here, I had them mining at approximately 19 days. So I'm not sure what happened there, why their production was down so much. I'm guessing they didn't really provide any details on it, so I'm guessing it's had to do something with maybe weather or with the retrofits and build outs and things like that, maybe that's a contributing factor to it as well. But that's kind of where I'm at revenue of 20.486 million. That got us right up to that number there as well, so that works out pretty good. All right. Based on all this, I did lower their numbers here for the year. So I did have them adding, you can see it, maybe over here you can possibly see it on the bottom. I added the $500 million in revenue from CoreWeave, but I multiplied that now times half, basically 0.5, because I don't even know if they're going to be able to generate 250 million from that this year, based on the timeline being pushed out towards the end of the year for when they do get that revenue going for them. So I'm being kind of excuse me, generous here with them on this part. So right now I'm between 12.15 and 18.22, which is kind of close to where the analysts have them, maybe a little bit lower than that, but this is kind of where I would see them. They're at still at 960. I think that they are way undervalued from that, especially as time goes on here and they get closer to getting that energized and generating revenue at that point. But even if you use the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in, now they look a little bit different. They look at about $8.05 to $12.70, and maybe we should be using like a PE of 20 for them because of just the revenue they're going to be generating there. So then you get a little bit closer to where the analysts have them as well, right? 24.30 for the looking forward, and 16.20 on the low end. They have them at 17, so that gets us closer there. So based on that, I would say that they're undervalued a little bit if you look at the previous 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in. But if you're forward looking, you may want to go with these numbers here, which then would definitely say that they are undervalued from where they really should be. Okay. Now, once the revenue starts increasing for the HPCI business, then these numbers will go up because the revenue is going to be going up even more because of it. So that's kind of where I see them at right now. For them, right, execute on the HPCI business, get those sites up and running as fast as you can. Get the block miners as fast as you can. And I think they said that they were looking to get those in the second half of the year. Didn't exactly state when, but hopefully it's going to be in the first part of the second half of the year. And, you know, that way Bitcoin is going up to 150, 180,000, 200,000, whatever it might be. That's going to bode well for them going forward as well. They're going to definitely generate more revenue because of it on Bitcoin mining and also with the CoreWeave business that they have there. All right. That is it. Okay. Spreadsheets, as always, are available to my Patreon members. Link for that is down in the description. If you want to join, become a member, help support what I do, greatly appreciate it there, and greatly appreciate all the Patreon members there as well right now, helping to support what I do. Because otherwise, I think my wife would tell me to go pound sand and not do this if I wasn't generating anything from this. So thank you very much there. And let's get into the Q&A, see what you guys have to say. Any questions, comments, or anything like that. And we'll work our way up here. Looks like it's kind of not a lot of comments and a lot of questions here, so it might be a pretty quick show. We're only 17 minutes in here. All right, let's see what we got here. As always, preface the questions with a question mark or Q. Up on things a little bit, or scrolling up a little bit to see where there's any questions here. All right, question Seb, why do you think none of the miner CEOs were invited to the crypto summit? Because it's crypto, it's not mining summit. So these are all about there's no CEO for Bitcoin, all right? But the other ones, you got XRP in there, Cardano, Ethereum, somebody else is in there. Sol, I think, is also being invited. We had some, I think Coinbase is being invited in there. I think Brian Armstrong is going there. Somebody else from Binance or Kraken is going there. So it will be interesting to see what they actually come out with at that point. Okay, looking for the next question here. Okay. Of our top miners, who in order will dilute is the question. Depending on the time frame they're looking for dilution, are you looking for the next 12 months? Are you looking for the next couple months? I think the one that's going to dilute possibly the least amount might be Cleanspark. After that, as far as who's going to dilute more than that, I mean, I would say IREN, Mara, Riot as well. They're all going to pretty much dilute. It's just a matter of how much will they all dilute. But Cleanspark right now has stated they should have enough capital to get to 50 exahash and beyond, and also to fund their operations and be able to hodl still. So we're looking at I'm thinking maybe towards like the third quarter, they might have to start diluting a little bit at that point, depending where Bitcoin goes. If Bitcoin goes down, it might be diluting faster. And some of the other companies might be dealing more. Okay, Yari has a question. Do you see a connection between Bitcoin miners underperforming and the fact that the Russell 200 hasn't consistently reached new all-time highs, unlike the S&P 500? Yeah, there's some that are calling that there's some correlation between the two. There's also a correlation with another one. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now. But yeah, it does seem like there's been correlation here lately, at least. They're basically following the small stocks, small cap stocks. All right. What do you expect? Oh, here we go. What do you expect to come out of Friday's crypto conference? I mean, it'd be nice if they provided some updates on the process going forward with the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, and then maybe allocation as far as what are they thinking putting in for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the other ones as well. Just some details at least, and hopefully it's not something that's vague. Marty says, "Hey Seb, thanks for your alpha. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming in here." Let's see. This Friday also has payroll and Powell speech. Yeah, that's coming out as well, so that'll be interesting. So quite a few things to cover there. Let's see. We need some more God candles with slight pullbacks. No more of that devil candle BS. I would agree with you there, absolutely. Do OTC desks exist for Bitcoin miners where institutions can buy shares without influencing the price, or are the Bitcoin miners generally too small for this? Well, generally, a lot of these Bitcoin miners here are hodling a lot of what they keep, right? And then if they do sell, I believe they are probably going to the OTC desk. That way they don't move the market or the price of Bitcoin that way. I think also I think most of the selling that we're seeing here is from like whales in Bitcoin, people that have been in it for a long time. Bitcoin's gotten 200,000, they're taking profits here. So that's one of the questions I've always had here recently is, all right, MicroStrategy is buying 20,000 Bitcoin here, 20,000 Bitcoin there, whatever it is, and yet the price for the most part doesn't really do much on those days. So it's just interesting to see how it plays out. All right. Bevney says, Seb, US dollar index at 104. We need the US dollar to go sub 100 and it's rocket time. I've heard that from many people, yeah. So it's good that that's coming down. Okay. Will you keep covering CORZ if they keep transitioning to AI HPC? I may continue to cover them, but if they do that and they transition completely to like a HPCI business, I doubt that they're going to be providing monthly updates at that point. And also, depending on where their Bitcoin mining side of things goes, if they get to 25, 30 exahash, that's great. I'm still going to cover them. And as long as they provide the monthly updates, I will continue to cover that. But if they can transition completely to HPCI, like I said, they're not going to probably provide monthly updates. The only thing that's probably going to move the needle there for them at that point is buying other sites and getting newer customers for HPCI business at that point. So it won't be dependent on Bitcoin price. All right. Hi, Seb. Considering that the biggest move will probably happen only if Congress approves the BTC reserve, what do you think is the time frame for this vote? I think it's going to be within the next possibly 6 to 9 months, possibly. They got to get through, Cynthia Lewis is working on stuff there, but it's going to go through the House and the Senate, right? And then it probably has to get it put on a bill. Somebody has to put it into a bill and get it up for a vote. It's going to take time. So I'm saying 6 to 9 months, maybe. Okay. See, hi, Seb, would you mind putting up a chart showing how the miners did in respect to BTC after the halving? Besides Core Scientific, I think BTC outperformed all of them, and Core is more of a data play. Let me see what I got here as far as charts for that. I do have some, where is it at? Stock performance here, and it's not directly from, we had the halving in April, right? Let me see what I can find from the closest to that. I think the closest that I have is from like July, beginning of July, but I don't have anything from directly on that, and I'll show this to you guys here. I need to update this as well for this, but I think this is as of right now. Let me see on the data. Latest price, is that correct? Exact match, where's that going to? End of day. Yep, okay, so that's using the latest prices, okay. So as of 7/1, so that's July, so we had basically May, June, so 2 months past that, we can see that Bitcoin has outperformed pretty much everybody here since then. So yeah, I would say you're probably right that as of the halving event, miners have not done as well as Bitcoin has done. And that's a result of the halving, I think. Right, having just cuts your revenues in half from one day to the next day, that's going to be traumatic to the stocks. And typically we would have seen the stocks, at least last cycle, we saw the stocks kind of start to move around November, December, and into then following year, which we haven't really seen that this time around either. It's playing out differently this time than what I thought, at least. Maybe you guys thought the same thing, but that's where we are at. Okay, Gary Ballard has a question here. Hey, Seb, does your recent purchase of Mara still mean you're confident in your prediction that Mara will beat its high of 83 from last cycle? I think at the price that I got into it, I thought it was a great price to get into. I thought it was probably pretty close to the bottom. That's my thought process there. Do I still think it could get to $83? I mean, if Bitcoin really goes on a rally here, and you never know with these things, they could go crazy in a couple of days. So it's tough for me to think that we might get there this time, but just all depends where Bitcoin goes. Okay, let's see. Is Friday going to be sell the news? What do you think, Sebi? I don't know. Depending what kind of news we get. If it's good news, it might go forward. If it's just bad news, it might fall. And then also we'll have to get the jobs data, everything else. We'll see where things go. We going for an extended cycle surprise. Let's see, it didn't pop up here. So I'm still thinking we might be going into an extended cycle. Things are definitely playing out differently this time around. All right. Have you heard anything about negative growth according to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta? I've heard that they're talking about possibly going into a recession here with the Trump tariffs and everything else. I don't know. We got to find out if those tariffs are going to stick. I saw a report that China said that if the U.S. wants to wage war, whether it's trade war, whatever war, they're in it. So they're going to fight back. It's going to get crazy here for the next couple months, I believe. To the upside, 400 plus. Let's see. Do you think Mara will pass its last cycle high of the cycle for stock price? That's if Bitcoin goes above 250,000. I think it might be possible for them to do it at that point. But right now, it's definitely not working out that way unless really shorts need to cover there. I mean, institutions are in them really, really hard. And if institutions are also in them really hard, could that be where they don't let it run up that high? They just, when they see things are getting a little bit overheated, they start selling at that point too also. So a lot of what ifs. Okay. Thierry says, sorry, I meant where institutions can buy shares of miners without influencing their price. On an OTC, I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody else has better insight to that than I do. I don't have any insight as far as buying over-the-counter shares, but maybe. So with the Congress taking a vote 69 months, nothing has changed. We still have last quarter to see the real movements. Is it going to be one long summer? Possibly. Right. I'm guessing 69 months, but it could happen faster. Could happen a little bit slower, but I'm guessing somewhere around there. Things take time in Congress and Senate. Thanks, Seb. You're very welcome. Let's see your hi, Seb. Which miners are institutions buying the most? Thanks. We'll look at that once we get all the data for the miners for the February updates. Then we'll look at the actual comparison for what we've seen here in the last basically 4 weeks on these guys as far as which ones have been growing. Right now, it seems like a lot of people are getting into Core, Mara, Cleanspark, even Riot as well, others. So there's still a lot of growth here that we've seen, at least that I've seen here recently. Okay, let's see. Have you guys noticed that volume of Cleanspark per day is half a Mara? Today, I did not notice. I didn't check into that. But that's not surprising. Mara has more of the mind share, I think, of investors. I mean, even when I've seen it on NBC, I think they were talking about Bitcoin and some of the Bitcoin proxies there. They had MicroStrategy listed as one, and Mara was another one, right? So they have that kind of mind share there, I think, with the investors. Let's see. With CoreWeave becoming a publicly traded, most likely they will try to buy out Core. I'm thinking there might be a possibility for that. I think depending on how much money they raise in the IPO, that could give them enough cash to possibly go into Core and say, hey, we'll give you, 100% premium on what your stock is right now. We want to buy you out. I think it would be wise for CoreWeave to do that. That way you control your destiny more, I think, than being asset light. We know how that's worked out. Well, Mara at least was asset light in the past. You don't control a lot of things at that point, so if you can control it, I think you're better off at that point. Okay, let's see. Here we go. CORZ, and that is why 90% of the stock is with institutions. Possibly, yeah. Is this the most undervalued the miners have been the entire bull market? Seems like the best risk reward right now. They've definitely been lower in price when the bear market bottomed out in December of 2022. But as far as value-wise, I think they were much smaller players at that point, much smaller hash rate. They have much higher hash rate. They're generating a heck of a lot more revenue as well this time around right now. So it's tough. You would have to look to see what the revenues were, future revenues were going to be, and things like that to compare it really apples to apples. But I do believe that they're way undervalued right now as it is. It's just, will they actually catch a good bid from investors? And we know institutions are buying into them. It's just a matter of investors and letting the stocks run, get the shorts out of there as well. Let's see, in the bear market, the fundamentals were much worse. Right now, the revenues and profits are much higher. Yeah, I agree. Let's see, didn't Core already reject an offer to be bought out from CoreWeave last summer? Yeah, but it was only, what did they offer them? $1 billion, I think it was, or something like that. So that was the right call at that point, right? They're at 2.9 right now. If CoreWeave comes in at, 6 billion or something like that, or even 5.5 billion, they're going to have to definitely think about that. Steven says, the Fed cats beat the miners down so much, we have a long way to go up. All the rug pulls we've had have been painful to see profits taken from most retail. Yeah. All right. Let's see, are you bullish or bearish for March? I'm bullish. It was unfortunate that we had quite a bit of drawdown in February, but in a sense, it might be also kind of good. Right, we kind of bottomed out here, and then we can have a nice, hopefully a better month of March. All right, Joel says, when Cleanspark stock runs, I could see a ton of retail hitting the next exit at 1517. I know I'll be tempted, but yeah, there might be some of that. I mean, stock goes up 100%. There's going to be some people that are going to be like, yep, I'm out the door. And depending where Bitcoin price is at that point, I might be starting to kind of trim my position as well. We'll see. I think that's it. We've come up to all your guys' questions, and Manu has one more question here. Do you expect any retail selling in April to cover last year's taxes? There might be some. We've seen that before as well, prior years. So there might be a little bit selling there to cover, especially if people sold in profit. Right, they're going to have to cover those tax expenses and things like that. See, people have mentioned an extended cycle. Do you mean trading differently from the last 4 years, waiting for BTC highs to dump miners? Miners might trade like normal stocks as adoption rises with SPR. What I mean, so at least what I mean when I say an extended cycle is that we're not going to have that parabolic rise to the top within a short period of time, and it could take us longer. So we could trade upwards, slower and longer, basically. So this year, let's say we get to 180,000 this year, but we go down a little bit in the beginning of next year, something like that, and then we continue up going to like 230,000 and then 250,000, but it's going to take us longer. We're not going to see that huge parabolic increase over a couple months. So that's kind of what I mean by it. And the reason I say that is because when the ETFs came out for gold, you had a multi-year basically rally in them, in gold and the ETFs themselves. So that's why I'm thinking maybe with the ETFs here that we got last year, we'll go a little bit longer on the rally instead of having a bear market where we go down 70-80% on Bitcoin. We just continue to do these kind of stepping stones where we go up, 50-100%, whatever it might be, and then draw down another 30% and then repeat that again, which might be actually pretty good, not only for the miners but for Bitcoin in general. And we'll have to wait to see if this plays out. And the reason I say that is if you just look at this past year, ever since the ETFs were approved, We saw Bitcoin get a new all-time high before the halving event, which never happened before. We have also seen, if we go to the chart here on Bitcoin, we have seen time frames where Bitcoin goes sideways for a much longer period than we have in the past. Like even recently here, right? We got to 107,000, 109,000, but we've been going sideways here for like a couple months here. Finally had a dip here, correction of about, what is it, 24%, 28%, whatever that's been. From up here down to the bottom was 28%, right? So we had that correction here just recently, and you can see how long we've been in this kind of sideways trading pattern here. We saw the same thing happening here in last year when we reached, what is it, 73,000 roughly on it, right before the halving event. Here's the halving event, and then we went sideways again before we actually bottomed out, being down approximately, what is that, 30-some percent, 34, 33%, and then we finally went a little bit more sideways, and finally we went up. So it is different from what we have seen in the past, because if you look at the past, especially like right here, you can see it where it's just a little bit of a correction here, but then it's just straight up, right? So parabolic rise in Bitcoin. This time around, we are not seeing it, at least not yet. Maybe we will see that still happen here later on this year, like it has happened in prior cycles. So if you look at last cycle in the halving was in 2020. Let's just zoom in on that one a little bit more. You can see here that after the halving event, we went kind of sideways, went up, had a correction. We went sideways a little bit here, but much shorter time frames again. And then I'm trying to see if I can do this, increase it. Let's see if it zooms out. Okay. But then you can see that we had a nice run up here, correction, run up, right, within like a month's time. It wasn't several months. It was a correction, run up, correction, run up. Whereas this time we're definitely trading differently. We're going sideways a lot longer, kind of like we saw here in 2021 also, where Bitcoin crashed because of China FUD with banning Bitcoin mining and things like that. And we went down and sideways, and then we finally bounced back up here. But then again, it was just straight up more or less, a month of going down and then straight back up. Not what we're seeing here right now, where it's several months of going sideways. So it is a little bit different from what we've seen in the past, the way it's playing out. And that could be because of institutions. The institutions are not really letting Bitcoin have a nice run up, but they can also manipulate it more. So that's why I think we might have an extended cycle. We'll see if it plays out that way. All right, what else do we have here? Okay, talked about that already. All right, here. Nick, good evening, Seb. Good evening to you as well. Late for the stream. That's okay. Thanks for coming in here. We're going to finish up here. I think I've caught up to all your guys' questions here. So tomorrow's another day, and we'll see who reports tomorrow, if anybody. And then we'll cover anything else that happens tomorrow, whether what's going on with Bitcoin, the miners, whatever it might be. We'll talk about it. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Trying to stay positive. I know it's tough, but I'm trying to stay positive. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I wish you guys a great night. I greatly appreciate you guys coming in as always. Thank you so much. Love you all. I hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow.